Someone had to say it. Welcome back to Someone Had to Say It. On today's episode, Heidi and I had a really fun time talking about what it would have been like to have sister wives to help with the everyday life and in raising our children. My trip to downtown LA for jewelry supplies, matchmakers promoting older men dating younger women, so much more, and her upcoming book. If you want to laugh and escape the reality of life for an hour or so, this is the episode for that. Do not skip it. Please listen, subscribe if you haven't, and rate us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Thank you for listening and enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to Someone Had to Say It. I am so happy to have my co host Heidi Shertok back. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And of course, you're looking very pretty and stylish.
As you always do as well. I'm wearing your jewelry, by the way, which I adore.
Gosh.
Look at this.
I love it. It looks so good. The leaves look so good on you.
I know. I sleep with it. It's just comfortable too. It's everything.
Really?
I'm addicted to your jewelry. You're my new is that a word? Jewelrist?
Yeah, well, I'm not a designer, so it's so funny because I had a funny story for you about me trying to go to downtown LA for jewelry supplies because I'm so new at this. I've always collected jewelry, like vintage antique jewelry. My mother-in-law got me into it, so I used to go to estate sales and look for like signed vintage pieces, and people throw stuff away. They don't know what they have, especially when their loved ones die. The kids, grandkids, they just get rid of stuff, which is so sad. But I knew what to look for, especially pieces from like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. A lot of times they're signed with names that it's all costume jewelry, but it's no longer made. So some of these names like Trifari and oh my gosh, all these, I can't think of any now, but Weiss and a lot of Jewish people that made like some of the costume jewelry that Elizabeth Taylor wore.
That's
It
so
was
cool.
all costume, like it wasn't real jewelry,
Right.
But anyway, and then I would resell it on eBay. I was one of the first sellers. And then I started my matchmaking business. So that kind of, and that wasn't obviously a lot of money. Not that I was doing it for money, but it's funny because we went to downtown LA, the jewelry district. I don't know if you've ever been down there.
I have not.
But next time you come to Southern California, I'll have to take you there. It was kind of crazy because it's professionals, there's a diamond district like in New York. And I walk into the store and I'm so new at this and I'm making my stupid little costume jewelry and all these big jewelers are there buying diamonds and gemstones and supplies, whatever. And here I am, asking the guy, I need the thing that holds the thing that holds the thing. And he's
something I would do. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, the what and the what and the how? What are you doing? He literally is like, what are you talking about? Because I said, I need a clamp that goes on the desk, on the workbench. And he's like, yes, the bench pin. And I'm like, okay, but then I need a thing that holds something on top. So when I'm making earrings, it's holding the earrings and I'm putting stuff on it. He's like, well, normally it holds stuff down, not up. Like, he's like, what are you doing? And why are you here? And why are you wasting my time? And my poor husband is like trying to explain to him what I'm not explaining. So I got some stuff, but people are looking weird at me and nothing has prices on it. And then there's the Orthodox Jews come in and, there's a lot of jewelry stores there. A lot of Jewish people, and they're all like, why are you here? And because I don't know the names of anything. So it was such a story. I'm like, I am never going back there.
It's no.
Because it's all men.
Really? That is so interesting. There was this show on Netflix actually that I watched a while back about, I think, a Hasidic group, about like Orthodox Jewish Hasidic groups and kind of the diamond business. I think it was in Belgium actually, based on
Yes. Oh my God, what was the name of it? It was so good.
Oh, so you watched it as well?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
was it?
and it was only one season, as far as I know.
Yes, it was dubbed, right? I think it
Right.
was, yes, 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 it was like the Diamond District, and you're right, Belgium. Oh, it was so
Right.
good.
It was so fascinating because I didn't
Yeah,
know about that. Like, obviously, everybody knows about the Diamond District in New
yeah,
York and how that's kind of a thing and how Jews went into jewelry, kind of like how they went into Hollywood. I
right,
think
because they couldn't be in any under in industry, so they kind of started their own.
exactly.
But yeah, it's very
Yeah.
still male dominated. So it was kind of
Mhm.
weird. Almost felt like sending my husband in there to get what I needed, because besides me, I think there was one other woman in there. The rest were all men.
That's so
So it's
interesting.
kind of
Oh,
crazy. Yeah. But anyway, how's your week been?
well, whatever you're doing great. So, I mean, I
Thank
just
you.
can't help admiring myself with the but yeah, my
Thank you.
week has been good. It's hard because for example, I'm on deadline. My agent emailed me on Thursday and she goes, "Hey Heidi, how are those edits coming?" And I'm just kind of like, "Oh shit." They're coming. It's okay. But I said, look, I can deliver. Like I'm thinking, right now I'm at like the 70 to 75% mark, but and the deadline is March 17th, which is Monday.
Wow.
And Rochelle Weinstein, I really admire her. And she was saying last time we recorded with her, and she was saying how, she really makes those deadlines. And I always have a habit of asking for at least one extension every time. And I
Mm,
feel like it's because I don't have sister wives, because I don't have
those women.
those women. Like,
Oh,
I'm going to be the sister wife who can write novels, but I need one who can like clean the house, make the
mhm.
lunches, scrub those toilets, walk
Yeah.
the dog. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
so funny. We were just talking about that because we're like, what are we talking about today? And
Right.
the last thing we talked to Rochelle Weinstein about, which how great was she? That was such a
Oh
great
my God. She's
insight,
awesome.
you know.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't watched the previous episode 66, please do.
Please.
But yeah, that it's so funny how so many women I've talked to over my entire adult life say the same thing. I don't need the extra husband or more men or even the
Right.
cleaning people and the cook and whatever, just more women in the house, like how it
Exactly.
used to be back in the day when people
Right.
lived, like all grandparents and aunts and uncles. But really, I would just take a couple of sister wives, like on that
Totally.
show. Like you
Yeah.
said,
I can't believe that. So, like my husband said that the Torah, for example, outlawed it some
polygamy,
centuries ago. What?
polygamy.
Yeah, the polygamy,
Right.
because the wives were getting too jealous of the other wives. And like,
Wait.
I don't have that problem. I'd be like, come on in, guys. Sleep
Yeah.
with my husband as long as you like do other stuff too. I'm totally
Yeah.
cool with
Wow, so it was a thing, like, it was actually legal for a while, but
that.
because the
100%. Yeah,
women were getting jealous and it was getting too uncomfortable and too many issues, they outlawed it? Not because of
exactly.
it's polygamy.
Right. Like back in the day, I mean, you look at our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they all had, their main wives, I guess. And then they had their cleaning ladies that they also slept with. And I'm like, that's cool. I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
I think
I
they
don't.
didn't appreciate what they had, to be honest.
Right. I agree. I don't think I'd wanna be the main wife,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
main wife, because that's too much pressure. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, that's funny.
just make
Yeah.
me the side one,
Yeah,
the second in
exactly.
command, the third, whatever. It's
Right.
not as much
Right.
pressure, but it's so true. And if you think about when our kids were little, right? Younger, much younger, toddlers, babies, my God, what I wouldn't do to have someone just be like, hey, go take a nap, watch the kid, or
Yeah.
I'll go start dinner. You can focus on homework or whatever else, right? It's
Yeah. I think that's what those sister wife television shows are so popular, because people see that and they relate to that. And they're like, oh my gosh, especially like you said, when your kids are young and you're sleep deprived, the things you would do just to have like a 2 hour nap.
yeah, just geez, for 20-minute nap,
I
forget
would
the.
sell my soul for a 20-minute nap.
I know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how much I look back now, especially when I see mothers with young children, and there's always like two or three of them, one on her hip, one in a stroller, one running behind, and I think, God, how did I do it? Even though my kids are like 5.5 years apart, it wasn't planned that way. But even then, the pick up at school while you have a baby, because my oldest was in kindergarten when I had my second. And but the more you have, the more, there's more activities and more things. And every time I see those moms now and the screaming, crying babies, and I think, how did I do it? I know I did, but how? I can't, it's like forgotten.
There were so many times when I had like one baby who was taking a nap finally, but then it was carpool time. It was like pickup time.
So
And
what do
I'm
you
like,
do?
oh,
Yeah.
if only it wasn't illegal to just kind of like leave your baby sleeping and then just go, for the 10
Yeah.
minutes, because it was close nearby, for preschool back then for me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Child Protective Services would have had a problem with that. But it's so hard because you have to pick up your sleeping baby, put them in the car, they wake up. Whereas like you said, if you had a sister wife, you just be like, yo, can you go do
Right.
carpool and I'll watch your kids and I'll watch whatever. It's like
Yeah.
you help each other out.
It's a community. Yeah. But what's interesting is my mom was telling us how they raised kids back in, Soviet Latvia, or anyone, Soviet Russia. I think anywhere in the world, they did leave us at home. I mean, she would tell me stories how I would be asleep and she needed to go to the store, and it was the only time. It was in the middle of winter, snow up to your knees, and you don't want to take this. I was sick all the time. So she would leave me at home. She knew I'd be down for an hour or two. She would
Yeah.
run to the store, which, we walked everywhere. It was probably maybe 15, 20 minutes away, and she would get whatever she needed. She'd come back. And I remember saying, well, what if I woke up and started crying? I
Right.
said, well, then you woke up and you started crying. You were, you were in the crib. There was nothing you could
And
do.
you don't remember that, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, it was a baby, so
Yeah. What's the
like,
big deal?
wow, this would be like punishable by, jail time right now if you left a baby. You couldn't do that. But you think about, what's that baby going to do? It's in
Yeah.
the crib. Right? I mean,
What's
unless
the
the
worst
house,
thing that can happen?
right,
Yeah.
unless the house catches on fire or something. But people
Right.
did that. And then if you think about it, also, a lot of times she I remember her telling me, oh yeah, you'd be like on the balcony sleeping. I'm like, wait, what? I'm sorry. What? What do you mean?
Seriously?
Well, because it was a city, a metropolitan city. We lived in an apartment on the top floor. And
But
um
you were outside
I was
in the
outside
winter?
in the crib, in the stroller,
Okay.
because they believed, and a lot of, Nordic countries believe the same thing, in Eastern Europe, or the more you're outside and you get in fresh air, no matter how cold it is, you bundled up, it makes your immune system stronger. You don't get sick as much. So they put babies outside. I mean, if you go to any European country now in the wintertime, the
Yeah.
strollers with babies are outside and the parents are eating inside. Have you seen those pictures? I'm gonna send it to you.
That
Nobody,
is mind-boggling.
yeah,
That does
nobody
not
touches.
happen in America, right? Have
No,
you seen them?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So there's rows and rows of strollers outside, and there's
Right.
babies sleeping in there, and the parents are inside eating,
And
their lunch.
nobody's kidnapped, for example?
No, no. I mean,
Nobody
I
wants
don't
the babies?
know. Well,
Well,
I
if
don't think
anybody's listening who wants a baby and wants to skip the adoption process, there you go.
free, free babies just lined up. I think it's just a different culture, Everyone trusts each other. I don't know if they do that in like big cities like Paris, where there's terrible crime and other European countries, but you
Yeah.
look in Norway and Sweden and all those countries, they're just
Mhm.
like lined up there. I'm gonna find these pictures. I'm gonna
Yeah.
send them. We'll post them after the show airs
Yeah.
because it's a thing, you know. So I'd be like, wait, mom, so you would leave me in a stroller or my brother on a balcony
Oh my gosh.
in winter time, all bundled up, and then you go to the store. Yeah, you were getting fresh air and you were getting your nap in, and I got to the store.
Were you strapped in at least?
No, there is no straps.
Oh,
It was one of those, you know,
oh
those
my gosh.
old strollers that all you could do is lay a
Oh,
baby flat. There was nothing
right.
in it. But when you're a baby and you're not even rolling over yet, you know, when you're
Yeah.
little, very little. But
Yeah.
I think about the stuff they got away with back in the day, which ask your parents. I am sure they did shady things like that too,
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. People
right?
were so shady back then. I can totally, my mom is totally shady. I'm going to call her up after this and say, what sort of things would you be arrested for nowadays that you did to me back
Yes,
then?
exactly. There's so much of that. Well, nowadays we just hear these stories, but I can't believe people did it. But in a way, I think you had to. It's just survival, right? Your husband's not there, he's working, you just had a baby and you need
It's better
stuff.
for the baby, I think, personally, than to interrupt their sleep because sleep is so important. That's when you're growing, that's when your cells are restoring. Like, I don't know. I just think if
Yeah,
you know basically your baby's going to be sleeping for like you said, like at least an hour, you might as well take advantage of it. It's good for both
exactly.
of you. It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. Which is
I
very different. What's
Yeah,
that?
I was gonna say yes. I agree 100%.
I mean, it's very different, for example, than leaving your baby in the car in the summertime.
Oh,
Like, that's dangerous. Like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about, your baby is, warm and in blankets and snowsuits and whatever and getting fresh air.
yeah.
So, what's the problem?
I know. That's why, it's funny because, you were saying it's not funny, but when your daughter wasn't feeling well, I was like, open all the windows, get cold air
Yeah.
in, because
Yeah.
it really does boost your immune system. And I mean, I remember opening up all the windows for, like an hour, and we would be sitting there in coats in the house, but we were airing out the apartment, because it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
good for your system. So there's just so many things that people here in America just don't know about or don't do. And I do remember leaving my youngest at home when he was sleeping. He was a baby. I had to
Yeah.
go pick up my oldest from school. I don't know where my husband was. I think he had to have been home, but maybe he was sleeping, or I don't know. We were taking shifts, a lot of the times at night.
Yeah.
So, and he fell asleep in the little bouncy seat, remember
Sure.
those?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't, like you said, you don't want to move them, especially when
Yeah.
they're so little. They need
Yeah.
their sleep. And he was sitting on a dining room table in the bouncy seat. And I remember thinking, oh my God, okay, so my choices are wake this thing up, wake this sleeping
Right.
baby up, put him in the car seat. He's going to be wailing. He's going to be up to go
Yep.
pick up the other one, or I leave him here and I'm back in 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? And I did. But in
Exactly.
my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, he fell off the table. He moved and he rocked himself out of it. I mean, he was strapped in, but if
Yeah.
he started doing this, he wasn't even moving yet.
And your husband was home.
He was home, but I don't know if he would have heard him. I don't know if he was on a work call or he was asleep. And in my head, all kinds of scenarios were going through. And I came
Very
home, I
Jewish.
ran through,
Yes.
but he didn't even move. He couldn't even
Right.
really move at that stage. So, and I never
Like,
did it again
you did
because
the right thing. Yep.
but it was too stressful. I think our generation, we just don't do that anymore. So, anyway,
No, Child Protective Services ruined everything. I agree. I agree.
society ruined everything. I mean, talk about the whole social media and everything and how much we know now. I want to go back to the 90s and 80s, and I want to go back to flip phones or no
Yes.
phones and not
Ignorance is
knowing
bliss.
everything.
Absolutely. right? Ignorance is bliss. And now
Yeah.
there's like too much information, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like I was talking to a guy at the dog park today, and he's like, I read on the internet that Bernedoodles are supposed to be like great couch potatoes, basically. And you know, mine is a Bernedoodle and a total psychopath. And I'm like, see, there you go. The proof is you can't believe the internet, because I read the same thing.
Did you? Is that why you got that type of dog?
Well, also because it's hypoallergenic. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and I know some people who have it. Shout out to Lara Barenberg, who has like the most amazing Bernedoodle ever, you know. So all he does, or
Oh,
no, she actually is, she'll like just cuddle with you. Like she's totally calm and she'll just cuddle with you. And I'm like, yeah, this is like the best dog ever. And then I end up getting a psychopath, but it
oh
is what
my
it
God. That's so funny. It's so true because I read yesterday and I texted my kids. I read something, I don't know if it was an Instagram or wherever, and it was about benzoyl peroxide that
Yeah.
is in a lot of products. So it's like benzoyl peroxide is the antibiotic that basically kills bacteria. So if you have acne, on your face, there's a lot of products that have either like that salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide. So I know my kids had this face wash that they were using with benzoyl peroxide in it. And they're taking some of that stuff off the shelves because apparently benzoyl peroxide, if kept in warm temperature, warm environment like the shower, in the bathroom, can turn into benzene, which is a carcinogenic.
Oh
Okay.
no.
It can lead to cancer.
Oh my
So they're
God.
taking so L'Oreal is taking some of the products off the shelves
Oh wow.
because it has that thing. So my
Yeah.
kids don't have that one, they have something else. And so I text them, throw it away, or don't keep it in the bathroom. And they're like, oh my God, this has been like the best thing if I ever break out. And
Interesting.
I'm like, nope, throw it away. And then
Yeah.
I'm Googling the stuff online and I'm not really seeing anything. So there was something in the news about it. There was something, whatever. Of course, I go in full panic mode.
Yes.
Oh my God, carcinogen. What is it? Carcinogen? No,
Yeah.
I can
Carcinogen.
never pronounce the word. So it's like every morning my kids are like expecting a text, about what to throw away, what not to
Yes.
do. And it's all because of social media. It's horrible.
Oh, is that how they found out about it?
That's how I found out about it. I must have read it on Instagram, Facebook or
Yeah.
something. So they're like, oh my God, mom, get off Facebook, get off your mom chats.
But this is good information to have.
It is, but it's like, oh, ignorance is bliss. Like you said, did I need to
Right.
know this? It's just like, oh God, maybe there was one case of it, right? But they have to legally take it off the market.
Interesting. Right,
So,
right, right. And you think about, whenever I start a new medication, I purposely don't read about the side effects because I don't want to know. I don't want it to give me any ideas.
right? Because then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I have that.
Right.
Okay. Are you like
Right.
that too?
Oh my God, 100%.
Oh my God, I thought it
It's
was
just
just me.
hilarious. What?
I thought it was just me, the being the hypochondriac.
No, it's
Oh,
so
there's
Jewish. It's so Jewish. It's
is
funny
that
because
what
my dad is an allergist, and he says the non-Jews, for example, they're kind of the opposite of the Jewish people. Like let's say his Jewish patients will come in and right away they'll just have a whole litany of complaints, about everything they're suffering. Whereas the non-Jews are like, yeah, it's like whatever, not a big deal. And they're like a step away from death or having some anaphylactic reaction. So
yeah.
it's just really funny.
That is, it's such a cultural thing, and I don't know if it's just do you think it's just the American Jews or just Jewish people in
Mm.
general?
That's a really good question because I feel like Israelis and Russian Jews are so tough and like macho, and then you think of American Jews, especially the American Jewish men. No offense, they have a lot of good qualities, but like they're kind of babies and paranoid when it comes to things in the medical field. Like my husband is constantly saying, oh my God, I'm coughing. I think I have esophageal cancer. It's like every other day, a different type of cancer he's worried about.
Oh my God, that is so funny. That
Is
is
your husband like that?
no, he's actually, I mean, he's always like something is hurting, sometimes here and there as you get older, right? But then he's like, whatever. I'm like, well, if you've been complaining that much about it, go to the doctor. No, I don't need a doctor. It's totally fine, right? But and that's kind of how my dad was too. Like, oh, I think I broke some ribs. Eh,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
wait, what? First of all, how,
Yeah.
when, where? Is the I don't know. There's like the whole thing with the car accident we didn't even know about. It's like, there was, a woman in New Jersey. I kind of helped her get out of the car. She was in a total crash and the
Oh my
door fell
God.
on me. I'm like, wait, what? So I feel like that, there's got to be a balance, right? You can't be like too one way or the other. And the issue with a lot of Eastern European men is that they just hold everything in and they're so tough,
Mhm.
like you said,
Right.
and stoic, and
Yep.
getting information out of them. I mean, I had a conversation with the surgeon that was the last person to see my dad alive because of what happened.
Yeah.
But I asked him, do you treat other cultures, let's say a non-American person comes to you, do you treat them, is there a protocol to treat them different? Because a lot of cultures do not divulge everything. So as a
Interesting.
doctor, I know from my like Middle Eastern and Persian friends, they've actually have to go and tell the doctor later what their parent is not telling them, because a lot of times they will not disclose this. Same with Eastern European, with Russian, whatever.
Hmm.
um it's part of the culture. It's just like, it's fine.
Is it
Or
wow? Is it almost like are they worried that the government somehow would find this information, or there it's more just a macho thing?
yeah, no, it's not. I don't think it's about the government. I think it's more about that they don't think it's important, or they think they know what's wrong, and
Yes.
they just don't want. I think, who knows, it's just so, it's like this tough. I'm fine, everything's fine. If I don't pay attention, it's going to go away, then it's not going to grow into a bigger problem.
Right. That's
you know
my husband is the same way because I'm also like, well, see the doctor if you're worried about skin cancer or whatever kind of cancer it is that day. And he's like, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Like as if going to the doctor and getting an actual diagnosis would cause something to happen.
Right. Well, and the whole thing with, my culture, where you got a mole or something, you don't remove anything. You don't cut it
Why?
out, because that will lead to cancer. If you leave it alone and you keep it there, because,
Gosh.
I guess in a way, it could spread, right? Once they remove it, it could spread, whatever. But I don't think it's based on that. I think it's like, you just don't touch those things. Like I remember my great grandma had a giant mole on her face. Like, it was huge. In every picture you see, it's not a tiny, pretty little beauty mark. It was like, those witches' moles.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah.
why? Because no one told her to remove it. Well, you don't. You just don't remove anything, because it could, something else can spur up. I've
Interesting.
removed so much crap off my face
Same.
and body. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody who said to me, "Oh, because I had like this purple like mole grow one day," and I'm like, "Well, this is weird," and it was actually going to the mikvah, which is like a whole
Wow.
other
Yeah.
discussion. But
Yeah.
and she said to me, "Yeah, you should get that checked out." And then I ended up getting a biopsy, and they said, "Yeah, there's some precancerous cells going on here." So I had it removed, and I don't know if you can see this scar here.
No,
Yeah,
nothing.
she did a
Oh,
good
wow.
job, but yeah.
Wait, you see
Um,
it. Yeah.
maybe she's right because I ended up getting breast cancer a few years ago. I mean, a few years after that.
God.
Maybe
I
if I kept the
think
mole, who knows?
don't know that one has to do with the other. You know what I mean? But it's
Maybe,
it's
yeah.
such a cultural thing that I wish it wasn't. I remember even telling my dad he had moles, like on the back of his head, on the side, and I remember he was like, "Oh, I've wanted to take this off, but you can't." I'm like, "What? Who said what? Why? What do
Yeah.
you mean?" So then he did one, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome! I'm gonna get all kinds of other stuff removed." So he kept going back to getting things removed. And
Yeah.
that's why you see a lot of these cultures where they have these moles, something with these moles and birthmarks, they just don't remove it. I think there's a lot of cultures like that, which I don't even know how we got on the subject, but
I don't know. We went from sister wives to moles, but
yeah,
that's why I love
seriously.
talking to you. You just never know what's going to crop up.
No, you don't. That's why when I make the title and description of each show, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, wait, what else did we talk about? I have to re-listen to the whole thing. But I was thinking that you really don't belong like where you live. Like you are such a California Barbie, that look and the
That's
dressing
so
up.
funny.
And I keep
Yeah.
seeing you in California. I keep saying you guys have to move out here because you would so fit in the fashion,
That's
you
so
know,
funny you say that because ever since I was a teenager, people are like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like,
California.
"Minnesota here." And they're like, "No, like originally. Like where were you born?"
I
And I
know.
still get that today. I get like South America. Like a lot of people think I'm South American. And I'm like, do
Really?
you not hear my Minnesotan accent? I don't know. I feel like I'm like, oh, you betcha. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like I'm totally an LA girl that, that's how I identify. Let's
Yeah,
just
I identify you the same way. I really do. I think when your next book comes out, which I'm so excited, I really am so excited to read it.
yeah.
So you need to hurry up and write
Yeah,
it.
September 15th, God willing. That's
Oh,
the
wow.
release
So you
date.
have an official date. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
writing.
as long as everything goes according to schedule and I
Okay.
deliver the manuscript by Monday,
Hmm.
fingers crossed. I'm not Christian, but fingers crossed anyway.
I don't think that's a Christian thing.
What is that? Where does that come from? Fingers crossed. Is that like
It's definitely American because I never heard that till, we came to this country. I was trying to think, what did we say back in like Eastern Europe? But no, I don't think it's a Christian thing.
what about knock on wood?
Oh yeah, that's very much I think a Jewish thing. I think it's an Eastern
Oh,
European thing because I know non-Jewish people, like just Russian, Ukrainian, we all do that. And you have to spit over your left shoulder 3 times when you
what?
say that.
I've
So
never heard that.
you have to knock with your right hand, not your
Okay.
left hand. Okay,
Ooh,
so you knock 3 times, then you
sure.
go toot, toot, toot over your left shoulder three
Oh
times.
my gosh. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
it's such a thing that like my kids even make fun of me, but my youngest has so he grew up believing this stuff because I'm so superstitious. And now he's like, God damn it, mom, I really wish you didn't put that crap into my head. Cause now I'll be out with my friends and I say some, oh, I hope I get an A. And then I have to do the knocking 3 times and the spitting over my left shoulder. And my friends are looking at me. What is wrong with you? What are you
Yeah.
doing? You know?
Yeah.
And he's just
Oh
like,
my
never
gosh.
mind, it's a cultural thing. But
Yes.
the funny thing was, I remember my husband not long ago said something, and he just went two, like he just spit once over his right shoulder. I'm like, no,
You can just do it once. What are you doing?
once and over the wrong shoulder. Do it again. So we had to do the whole thing all over again.
Yeah.
He was
Super.
like,
Yeah.
woman, you're driving me crazy. He doesn't believe any of
Because
that
he didn't
stuff.
grow up like that, I'm sure.
Not really, and he does not believe in it. And coming back, when you leave your house, you forget something and you come back,
Yeah.
that's bad luck and something will happen on the road.
Oh, oops. That's important information to know because I'm constantly forgetting things. So
Well, maybe I shouldn't be telling you this stuff, that there's so many stupid superstitions that if I look back at it and really truly think about how many times something went wrong, I
yeah.
can't think of it. I really can't, but it's just so subconscious in our minds that I really think someone should write a book about every single superstition and debunk it.
Yeah, totally, totally. It's so interesting because I've had many therapists over the years, as a good Jew should. And so she diagnosed me. There's like 50 different types of OCD, first of all, which I didn't realize. I don't have any of the good types. First of all, like like cleaning everything all the time, or the hand washing. I don't have the good type. I only have the bad types of OCD, and one of them is called magical OCD, which is exactly what we were just talking about. That's like being superstitious.
Really?
Yeah, there's like
Magical.
an actual diagnosis. I just diagnosed you. You're welcome.
Wait, it's literally called magical OCD? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
that's
I'm
what
gonna
you
look
told
this up.
me. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It's very
Okay,
Jewish.
so if you want to know more, I mean, I could tell you more about them, but like the whole thing with leaving, and let's say, you already left and then you remember you forgot something and you are not supposed to go back in because something will happen while you're traveling, while you're gone. So
Okay.
then my husband's like, "Well, I don't believe in any of this crap, so I'll go in and get it," right? He's like, "I don't care." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, good, you can go."
Yeah. Let
So
the bad stuff happen to you.
right? The whole black cat thing, which I know, I
Right.
think in America people believe that too. I have never, ever in my life had anything bad happen if a black cat crossed the road. But I'm
Yeah.
still, at my age, I'm still believing it. So if I
Well,
see one
yeah, it comes up right because when you grow up and you hear stuff like that, and then think like same thing. I mean, like don't open an umbrella when you're
in
inside.
the house, yeah,
Right. And I
inside.
do that, and I'm like, oh. Or if like a mirror broke, I'm like, okay, I have to remember 7 years from now, right? It's like a 7 year.
Or the whole which I was just telling a young person this weekend, my friend's daughter, there was a corner on the table, you're not supposed to sit on the corner. This 7
Okay,
years.
that I never heard.
You never heard of that? Oh God, you're just
No.
gonna be even more OCD now. So
I'm gonna have to call my therapist and be like, yo, we're gonna need to meet twice a week now.
okay, so maybe it's good to talk about these things and get it all out. And the
Yes.
fact that I'm telling you none of these things have ever happened, maybe
Right.
that will help. But I was just saying the whole thing with the corner of a table. So you can't sit on the corner of a table because it's some believe it's 7 years of bad sex. Or
Oh my god. Seriously?
yeah. So when you see a corner, like you're always supposed to like have someone else sit there, not you. If they put you there.
Who
Yeah.
comes
So
up with this stuff? And what's the connection anyway?
I would love to talk to someone who has studied this, or maybe
Yeah.
like a historian, where all these things came from. I bet it was like this old lady in some village, and she sat on the corner, and then she had bad luck or bad sex for the next 7 years or something. And then it's like, oh, that's it. Can't sit in the corner. Or
Well,
coming
I
back
was
to the house,
yeah.
you know?
I was just doing research for my book actually, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm like, okay, I want to research about vaginas and ages. And so one of the things it says by the time you're 51, your vagina stops self moisturizing.
51. Okay.
51. It's like not 50, but 51 or 52. It wasn't 50. It was like
Mhm.
51 or 52.
Or, okay.
Okay, so that's first of all. So, like you said, if there's an old lady sitting at the corner of a table, like maybe that's a good explanation why.
Yeah, but wait, now I really want to know about your book because, like, this is so my subject.
No, because
Wait,
there's one scene where she sees him talking to these twins who are in their 20s. And so she decides, oh my gosh, I'm going to like dive into the psychology about like men who are attracted to younger women. Like, what's the
um,
psychology behind that?
oh
Uh,
my God, I can't wait to read this.
I think it's pretty good, I have to say.
Oh my God, I can't wait. That's so funny, the whole thing with older men, younger women. I was literally holding back. Well, I guess it's not literally, physically holding back from going off in a group chat in our matchmakers chat because a
Oh,
lot of us matchmakers are all connected. We have a huge WhatsApp chat. There's a specific one for the Jewish singles, one for all. There's, I'm sure there's all culture chats as well. And someone posted about this 71 or 72-year-old man who looks his age, by the way. He looks probably even older than 72. And it's, again, I've talked about this for years now, how matchmakers perpetuate that cycle of older men wanting younger women because a lot of them take on people and it's great money, right? And then they promise them, Oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. We'll get you someone 20 years younger. Yeah, I got tons of ladies. They don't, because nobody wants to date an old geezer. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but that's like my dad's age, you know?
Yeah.
And who in the right mind is asking for a woman to have children with? Okay, someone
Yeah.
in their, he will date 30s and 40s. Oh, will he now? Really? My ass.
Well,
Like,
look, yeah.
do you know
Well,
what I
look,
mean? Like, it's
Well, look,
ridiculous.
I have to just say that when I was 19 years old and at one of these Pesach programs, have you heard about that? Like for
Yes.
Passover, people will. So, so I was living, and my parents were pretty rich, thankfully. So we got to do this program. And this woman comes over to me. She's like, "How old are you?" And then I'm like, "Oh, I'm 19." And she said to me, "Okay, look, I have a guy who's like in his 50s and or like late 50s, whatever, and his kids are older than you, but he's like a billionaire. You know, he has private helicopters, and he's like amazing, and like you'll never have to worry about money again. It's awesome. Are you interested?" And I said, "Hell yeah, sign me up." And I told my dad, and he's like, "Absolutely not. Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "Look, I'll take you on the helicopter with me. We'll go these private island vacations." And he's like, "No,
No.
absolutely not." And you know what? I still kind of think about that and go, huh, that would have
Yeah.
been nice.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, it's so, yes, I see what you're saying, because I say that to my husband all the time, you know. And now he's gonna make fun of the way I say all, because I say it like a Boston. I don't know why I have a Boston accent. I literally cannot say the word all without saying all.
That's funny.
Anyway, and but anyway, that's a whole other subject. I tell him all the time that, I thought I was marrying for money. I really did. And it turns out
Seriously?
he
Oh,
was
that's
like,
so funny.
"Well, you were marrying the potential."
Yes.
The potential for
Yes.
money. And life definitely, whoever said money can't buy you happiness is wrong, because
Totally.
clearly he's never had money. Whoever says that, and he has to be a he. He has to be a he. But can you imagine how many things are just easier in life, right?
100%. You
It's
can
ridiculous.
buy, or my grandfather used to say, like, okay, you can't buy happiness, but it doesn't hurt.
Right. Or you could
Yeah.
try.
You try. It's not gonna hurt you, right?
I know. We were visiting my best friend in the valley, which she keeps saying it's not the valley, but it's the valley. It's past LA. It's like, Calabasas and all those areas where like the Kardashians live and everyone.
Okay.
And we had Hilton points, right? So we used our Hilton points there. And then I found out later that there was a Four Seasons. And I was so mad at my husband. I said, "Oh my God, there was a Four Seasons, and we could have stayed at the Four Seasons." And he goes, "Well, we had enough points for a Two Seasons." And I thought, this is where money can make you really happy, you know? I don't want
Yeah.
to stay at a freaking Hampton Inn. you know,
Yeah. Exactly.
it's and it's funny because, people anywhere outside of California look at our life and they would think we're incredibly wealthy, right? To first live in California, Southern California, and by any other means outside of California, we're
Yeah.
like, very, very wealthy. But here,
Yeah.
it's not quite.
Wait. So
Yeah.
where in California are you again?
Orange County, which is
Oh,
between
oh my God! I watched that reality show. Why are you not on it?
oh, the housewives.
Yeah.
Well, okay, because there is, oh my God. The funny thing about it is the producers actually, I did talk to the producers about it
Oh.
years ago, because
Okay.
I was, my matchmaking business, and they were trying to set up a lot of the housewives or their mothers. And I had a whole thing. And at first I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This is so fake and it's so not me. And I'm so not like that. But then they're like, talk me into it. So they said, let's just do a screenshot. Let's just do an interview. Let's see what happens. And one of the questions was, what is the most expensive thing that you own?
Oh my
And
gosh.
I sat there for 5 minutes. I couldn't think of what it is, right? So
Yeah.
in my head, I'm thinking like, well, my children,
That's
you
what
know,
I was thinking. Like,
right?
yeah, exactly.
My family. And they're like, no, 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 no. Like we need actual, tangible, financial, monetary thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know, my little Alexis, which was like 10 years old by that
That's
point.
so funny. But that's what
They're
they're looking for. Or you could have said your organs. Do you know how much organs make on the black market? Like you could
exactly.
sell like, I don't know, like a heart for like 200 grand. Like,
Jeez.
but you'd
Well,
have to kill somebody, but
you've looked into this? Like you
of course, you always need to have like backup plans.
options. Right,
You need
right.
you need options. So that's ridiculous. So why do you think it's so materialistic over there?
I mean, it's California, this is just how it's always been. And I watch some of these shows and I think, oh my God, there isn't an ounce of substance in these people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they also, even if they do have some substance, these shows want to see the shallow entertainment side of it. You watch them and you listen to these arguments and you listen to these conversations, and it's just so unrealistic because how many wealthy people are really, well, I guess a lot in California, with their Range Rovers and everything, but
Yeah.
it makes for great entertainment. I mean, I watch them when I'm doing my workout, and I'm on my bike, and that's what gets me through my exercise.
Good for you. Good for
you
you
know
for doing that. Yeah, they're it's such an interesting psychology. I don't know. I just wonder about that. I guess it's kind of an escapism, like kind of the same reason why we love watching movies or reading books.
Mhm.
It's like a whole different world.
Yeah, I would much rather read a book, honestly. And this is kind of crazy. I don't know if anyone has read this book before by Jeanette McCurdy called I'm Glad My Mother is Dead.
I love the title, first of all.
Oh yeah, they had a really hard time publishing it. She was on iCarly. She was the blonde. I don't know
Oh,
if it's ever
wait. So who was she on
the
iCarly?
blonde.
Oh,
Jeanette
okay.
McCurdy. She was the Sam. She was Sam. Sam and Cat or Sam and she had that other spin-off
Right.
show with
Okay.
Ariana Grande, remember?
Wow.
And
Okay.
so, and I didn't know anything about her. I just knew the character that she played. Remember, she was like a tomboy and playing prank jokes and everything.
Right.
Um, prank jokes. I don't think that's a thing. But you know
It
what I
worked.
mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got the book because it was like best selling whatever for however many months, and I'm listening to the book while I'm doing my jewelry, which I have a hard time with audiobooks. I don't know about you, but I need an actual book. Like things just
Same.
I
Yeah.
don't absorb when I'm listening,
Yes.
but I wanted to do two things in one, so while I'm working on stuff, I'm listening to it. So I have to pause sometimes and listen to the chapter again.
Yeah.
But
Same
as
thing. Yeah.
I'm listening to the show and to her book and really really understanding how toxic LA Hollywood entertainment industry is because number one, she didn't want to ever go into acting. She didn't want to do it. Her mom forced her, pushed her into it.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
different than like Mila Kunis, for example.
Right.
Who
Who
said she wanted
truly wanted to,
right.
right? So the book is very toxic and it's very dark, and her mom was abusive in many ways, but she
Oh
died of
no.
cancer. Yeah, she was anorexic. She was I mean, if
Wow.
anyone wants to read about it, like she developed so many issues, and I feel awful for her, but anyway,
No.
she's doing better and everything. But yeah, it's just, you think about that industry and what it does to people, because how many people have just completely, after a TV show, especially if they were child actors,
Oh, I know.
completely left after. If you want to watch a really great show from, this was like late 90s, early 2000, no, it was 2000s, I guess, the OC, or no, not was it the OC, or it was called Orange County? It's a series.
Okay.
And um Adam Brody,
Oh,
who was in
what a
that show.
cutie. Yep.
That's where he got his start, and everybody here watched it because it was the
Oh,
first
I
time.
know that show. Of
You remember
course. Yeah, yeah.
that?
What was that pretty woman that also?
Oh, Rachel
Yeah.
Bilson, who played.
Yes, I remember her. But then I was thinking of
So
something else. The other girl.
the other, oh, she played Marissa, right? She
I
had
haven't
long.
seen her since then, right? I
That
haven't.
so that's what I was gonna say. She completely stopped acting. She went back to theater. She said it
Okay.
was the most toxic period of her life being on that show as
Oh
a
my God.
child actor. She
Okay.
developed an eating disorder. She was because she was sexualized by these old men, and she was
Oh.
she had her first kiss on camera. She was supposed
Oh.
to have been sexually active as a young, a teenager on the show, and she had
Yeah.
never. So, and she completely went under the radar, she just completely disappeared after that. So, but the show was
Wow.
great, but
It came at a cost to them, but we enjoyed it.
right, right. So it's sad. It's
It is so
really sad.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like an epidemic with Hollywood actors, child actors.
Mhm.
What's that? Oh, Macaulay Culkin, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to marry him as a
Oh,
child. I was like, oh my gosh, I love how he went like that.
yeah.
I don't
He
know
was
why,
so
but that
cute.
really appealed to like the 8-year-old me.
Right.
And then I see him now and I'm like, oh dear God, what's happened to you?
Yeah. It's something is not right there. I mean, just the way he behaves, the way he is. And I can't imagine, I mean, I can't imagine that his life has not been great. I mean, you hear of all these stories, right? Or Justin Bieber and all this stuff that came out with what
Oh,
was
P. Diddy?
right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a young child and not having the parents to
Mm,
be looking out for you
I
and pushing you
know.
into?
Especially with Michael Jackson, you hear about these parents who are just like, okay, have a fun sleepover.
Yeah, just because he's a known celebrity does not mean that he's not, potentially a dangerous person,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
they
that's
try.
red flag when like an adult says, oh, I'd love to have a slumber party with your child.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one thing to even say, I want to, sleep over, slumber party as an adult. Like, I have never in my adult life, someone did say to me, oh, it'd be so much fun to have a girl sleepover.
Yeah.
Why? I like my bed. I want to be alone in it after I kick
Right.
my husband out because we talked about that we don't sleep in the same beds,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now we don't even sleep in the same rooms because we found it's amazing.
I'm the same way. I'm like, what is this up with having to sleep next to your husband? Like, honestly, I do want to cuddle with him like at 2 a.m., but then I don't want to wake him up by
Yep.
going, yeah. But I do
I
have
have this
that instinct of, oh, I do want to cuddle with a human that I'm
a
married, and
a
that's male.
human.
I
I
have
love
this
it.
pretend husband. I tease my husband. I'm like, well, Bob's here watching this movie with me because he hates watching movies. I'm like, well,
Oh,
Bob's here, so it's fine. I don't
it's
need you.
right. It's so funny. I've gotten so many negative responses when I remember I did a video because I talk a lot about relationships and my matchmaking and whatever. And one of the things I remember saying is the best relationships are really when you have your own bed and your own room and at times your own house. And I got so much
Oh my
hate.
gosh.
I mean, of course,
Really?
obviously, I'm joking, but in a way, if you sleep great together in the same room, same bed, and everything, and your sleep is not interrupted, it's all good, fine. But for most, it's not the reality. I feel like it's impossible to get a good night's sleep with a person next to you, whether they're in the same bed or in the same room, right? As we get older, we snore, we move around, whatever. I get up to pee 3 times a night,
Right, same. Yeah.
So
My
it's
husband actually talks in his sleep, which is even a whole other level.
wow. What does he say? Like
And
just what?
sometimes I talk in my sleep. Like we went on vacation recently to Phoenix, and so we shared a bed. And he said, literally, you were laughing in your sleep.
Oh
And
my
then I'm
God.
like, yeah, there was something really funny happening. And I can't remember exactly what the joke was, but I remember it was hilarious.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. I used to sleepwalk. And
No
my
way.
youngest, yeah, and my youngest did too. Thank God he grew out of it. We had to put a gate on the top of the stairs, and then we found out that he was like climbing over it, so we had to put knives away
Oh,
and put him really
wow.
up high because, well, he had an anger problem, so we thought he was going to murder all of us, in the
A
middle of
little
the night.
scary. Okay.
He's like one of those, children of the corn or whatever. He had a lot of blonde locks and he has green eyes and he's like your typical Aryan,
Right. Yeah.
Hitler's dream. And he would just stand there in the middle of the night, like stare at you. He'd walk out of his room,
Oh
he'd
my
walk
God.
into our room, and he'd just stand there with his eyes just and
How
fully like
old was he?
2, 3, 4,
Oh,
5,
okay.
6. I
Okay.
mean, it went on for a while. And it was
Wow.
really scary. And
Yeah.
so we tried to like, we moved the locks higher up on the door and everything. And thank God it stopped. But yeah, it's really scary because he would talk, he would have full-on conversations. I did too,
Wow.
but thank God those things you kind of grow out of it sometimes. I
Yeah.
guess not for
Well,
you.
I don't know. I had a cousin who once slept walk all the way like a to his best friend's house when he was a kid, and it was the middle of the night, and he rings the doorbell, and the parents come down, and he said to them, whatever his name was, let's say it was Ben. He goes, "Ben is dead." And the parents had no idea that he has a sleepwalking problem or anything, and they like rush upstairs to the bedroom, and thank God their kid is fine. My cousin is just gone or whatever. But can you imagine 2 a.m.
Wow.
This kid is going, "Your son is dead."
That must have been a crazy dream he was having. That's really
Yeah,
scary.
completely crazy.
Wow.
So
How old was he when this happened?
I think he was like 8.
Wow. He walked. Oh my God. That's
He
scary.
walked to the house when he
Yeah.
was sleepwalking, and he's totally
Wow.
awesome now. Shout out to Matan.
Okay. So he's okay. It's
Totally
all
fine
good.
now. But it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder why more people don't use that excuse, that I was sleepwalking. I don't know what I did when they
Right.
murdered someone or they go on a killing spree or
100%.
whatever. Right?
Yeah,
Because
no, I've heard of that. I've heard there was a case, I think it was in
really?
Florida actually, where somebody says he was sleepwalking when he murdered his girlfriend.
Wow.
And then they're like, "Well, why did you call, 911 like 6 hours later?" Or
Yeah.
yeah, or yeah.
Why'd you wait? But
It
see, it's
was
always happening in Florida. I mean, whenever you hear stuff like that, it's either Florida, Ohio, my husband's home
interesting.
state, right?
Okay.
But it's mostly Florida when you hear this kind of stuff.
Oh, you're right. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I
Something
think
in
the
the air.
heat gets to them. I really it fries the brain. I mean, remember there was a guy who ate someone's face off because he was
I
high
heard
on
that
yeah,
story. That
crazy.
was like the scariest, freakiest. He was like on some kind of weird drug. Was it
Mhm.
LSD?
I think it was like bath salts or something.
Oh, weird.
Snorted bath salt or something. Yeah, I don't know if it's a name for something else or it's actual bath salt. I remember hearing that, and it was right around the time that we were moving to Florida, and
Oh,
I thought,
really?
"Oh my God, I'm not raising my kids here."
I
It
didn't
was
know. So
scary.
you lived in Florida?
We did for a very short period of time. I always say it was a year, 3 months, 2 weeks, like 5 days, 5 hours or something. I could not wait to go back to California. It was the strangest experience. I actually kept a blog of things that were happening. It was called something like, only in Florida or something.
Funny.
We were in the middle of the state too. We were in Orlando, which, not the greatest area, but it was the divide between poverty and wealth was like so shocking because we step outside of our little gated community, and it was like, homeless,
Oh,
toothless,
wow.
overalls, wearing with curlers in their hair, in Walmart, Kmart, and then you go right back into your gates, and it's like wealthiest people, in Florida.
Wow.
Very strange, very strange.
That is
Yeah.
very strange. I was shocked to learn that in very rural cities, that's like a very high incident rate of like drugs. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people are on meth and cocaine.
Yeah.
Um, like you need money for that, first of all, right? I don't know what the going rate is, but
I know. Where did they get it? I
where are
really,
they getting it? Exactly.
it's
And
a good
why there?
question.
Why in the rural towns? I was shocked to learn that. Yeah. At
Yeah.
least in
What
Minnesota. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is because there's nothing to do. And
Yes.
teenagers end up just experimenting because they have nowhere to go, nothing to do. There's like one movie theater, one
Right.
little local hangout. So I think a lot of times it's boredom, and people just try things and then they become addicted. And, but again, I'm not an expert, so I have no idea, but it's scary. It really is scary. So I don't know how we ended up on this subject. We've covered
It's what we
everything.
do, Julia. We do, we go from sister wives to drugs. There's a natural segue there.
Apparently, yeah.
But my husband said the same thing. It's like, well, they're depressed, they're bored. This is what
Yeah,
you do.
I think so. We were driving through, not driving, we were in New Orleans visiting a colleague of mine, actually a matchmaker who became a good friend of mine. And we rented a car one day and drove from the city to visit to see the plantations, and the history of slavery and everything. Although I realize most people go visit the plantations for the sites and to have weddings there, which I think is so disrespectful. If you think about all the atrocities that were done there, right? It's like people
Yeah.
going to concentration camps and having a bridge,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a good
So
point. Yeah.
so anyway, I was really on the hunt for a a plantation that actually talked about the suffering and what happened there and the history of slavery, which was hard to find. There is one. It's called the
Wow.
Whitney Plantation. If you ever find yourself in New Orleans,
Yeah.
it actually ended up. I think it got burned down, or there was a hurricane or something.
Oh
So yeah,
no.
they were raising money to, because it was the one of the only plantations that truly show what life was like for the slaves, for black people and the enslaved and their families and the children. It's horrific, but anyway, it's amazing place to learn. So we drove, and it's obviously outside of the city, out in the middle of it's not suburbia, it's like it's rural, rural areas.
Yeah.
And as we're driving there, I look to the side, and there's these kids riding little four-wheelers just up and down the hills, up and down the hills. This is what they do. There was like nothing else to do there. And
Huh.
they're just going up and down these hills and, rolling down hills. I'm like, oh, this is what teenagers do here. The,
Wow.
just, there's nothing else. So rural, and
Yeah.
it's sad to think that people, have nothing to do and then they become just
Drug addicts.
right, because just
Yeah.
just trying things for fun. And although, like, the other day when we went to downtown LA, I really think we got secondhand high because there was so much weed, and it's
Oh.
legal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
legal in California. It's legal in LA, and I smelled it everywhere. Walking down the street,
It's
I'm like,
not a good smell. Ugh.
I'm getting high. I literally feel like we left completely high because it was just everywhere. It was like going to a reggae concert,
Oh my gosh.
but on the streets of LA. Uh,
Yeah.
Got it crazy. But anyway, I think we've covered like a few topics today.
I think we did well for ourselves. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for joining me again. I
It
keep
is always a
thinking,
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
yes, get back to writing because I cannot wait to read your book. And
Yes.
do we have you have a title, right, already?
Yes. Thanks to Jean Meltzer, who I
Mhm.
adore. It is called A Match Made in Brooklyn.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right. I remember you telling me that it was one of them, right?
I came up with like 50 different options, and the agents and editors were like, no, no.
Really?
Yeah, because already at this point, I feel like I've had 5 different editors. There's like a revolving door in the publishing industry.
Wow.
Well,
But
at least
this,
the ones I've
yeah,
been in. Yeah.
but this one they liked. They approved.
No, they didn't. Well, my UK agent loved it. I don't
Mhm.
remember if my American agent weighed in, but
Hmm.
my UK publisher is buying North American territories rights or whatever,
Um,
so they're kind of the main guys, so to speak. So they have control more so than like my first book, which was more, I guess, American controlled, if you
mhm.
will. So anyway, but I really do love my UK publisher. But so yeah, hopefully the title, they're like, we'll discuss it. But I'm like, yes, it's a match made in Brooklyn. It just is.
It's a done deal. Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, I can't wait to read it. It's
Yes.
really, I don't know how you guys do it. Like every author that I've ever interviewed who's written novels and fiction, I just, I've never had it in me unless it's like a real story. I love telling stories, but I don't know how you just do that. It's such an art in talent, you
The way
know.
you tell stories is an art as well. I loved your book. I couldn't put it down. It was hilarious, and
Thank
I learned so much. I feel like I
you.
that's what I love about stories is I felt like I was transported to another place and time, and I learned a lot, like about the urine. It's
Okay, this
urinating
is
in the pot. Like I'm like, who knew?
it's so crazy. I have a client who I'm gonna mention names, but his daughter got burned, like she had got second degree burns or something, and I was holding back from telling him to go douse her in urine because and he's like, she's fine, she went to the hospital, like it's all good, they got it. I'm like, yes, but
But
urine will fix it like that. And but you have to unfortunately you have to do it right away. Like you have to
oh,
literally put any burns urine. I will stick by it. I was in a radio show out here in LA. It was, I remember calling in because they were talking about the Russian mother-in-law who puts urine on every burn, and they're like, what? That's not a thing, that's a lie. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna show them. So I called
wow.
in and I told him that, it's, yeah, it's a real thing. I mean, my brother would have scars right now all over his body because he had, my grandma accidentally dumped hot boiling soup all over him as he was running around. I don't know
Yeah.
why she was carrying hot boiling pot of soup in the first place. But if it wasn't for urine, I'm telling you, it,
Urine saves the day every time.
yeah. So anyway, if anyone out there has a story about urine and burns,
Good tip. Leave it in
comments
the comment section.
for sure. So, well, again, thank you so much for talking to me. I love
Always.
it.
Yes.
And we'll be back next time with more stories and authors and great guests.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share. And even if you didn't enjoy it, share anyway. Thank you for listening and come back to Someone Had to Say It.